Okay, Nick and Andy, huge game in London this weekend. Massive derby game. Chelsea against Arsenal at Stamford Bridge. Delighted to say I'll be there for Pro Soccer Talk, giving analysis, reaction, and much more from on site at the Bridge. Nick, they're level on points going into this game. I don't think many of us would have predicted this at this stage of the season after 10 games, but Chelsea started well. Arsenal have had some slip-ups in recent weeks with all their well-known injuries and absentee issues. What are your thoughts on this game, mate? Because this should be a beauty in terms of entertainment, but I'm not sure Chelsea and Arsenal fans will be looking forward to it that much, given kind of the high stakes and the tone this will set right for the next few months for their team.
Yeah, my thoughts are almost exclusively looking at the back end for Chelsea and the front end for Arsenal, because one of the things that I think perhaps hasn't been discussed that much outside of Arsenal circles, because Kai Havertz occasionally does something absolutely phenomenal as a very good player, is the lack of clinical finishing from the center of their positions. And they still don't have that guy. I'm not saying that, they're totally regretting not paying through the moon for Victor Osimhen or something, but that is my question with them. And I think that's honestly one of the things that's hurting them is, Gabby Jesus just hasn't really found what we expected him to be, and he's fought through so many injuries. But the flip side of that is I think Chelsea are likely to score in almost every game. And I think there are some very good pieces they're regularly putting out there in Colwill and Fofana and James being healthy. But Joe, I feel like you've been the number one person to point this out. You're good for one mistake a game from Robert Sanchez. So I'm just kind of living in that space where whatever happens in that third of the pitch in this game will determine everything, because I think Chelsea will score. I just don't know if Chelsea can stop Arsenal or Andy, if Arsenal will score.
Yeah, it's true. That's true. Andy, I mean, it's a great point in terms of, as a neutral going to this game and watching this game, it's going to be great because you kind of don't trust Chelsea, like Nick said, to keep a clean sheet or not make at least 2 or 3 big mistakes. We saw it against Man United last time out in the Premier League for them, didn't we? That they gave up some big opportunities on the counter, but they weren't punished for them. And you would think even Arsenal's forwards, the quality they have, even though they're not in great form, they would be more ruthless and make them pay for that. But, I mean, Chelsea kind of need a win in this one, don't they? Like a marquee win, a statement win under Maresca, which they never even really got under Pochettino last season with most of this young team together. They had a lot of draws, a lot of promising performances. I remember being at the Bridge when they were 2-0 up against Arsenal and then coughed up 2 goals to draw. And there was, a lot of promise, but it feels like this young team don't quite believe yet that we deserve to be in the top 4 and maybe even in the title race if some Chelsea fans think they might be this season. So I guess they need this. They need Cole Palmer to be fit. And the fullback situation is intriguing to me to see which fullbacks are actually going to play for Chelsea this weekend, because they have 3 very good ones. They keep flip-flopping between them. But I feel like Mark Cucurella should probably start at left back to try and shut down Bukayo Saka this weekend, and probably Reece James at right back. But that's harsh on Malagusto because he's been very good this season. So again, what's your take on Chelsea, and how much do they need a big victory this weekend just to kind of say, all right, we can do this, we can hang with the big boys?
Yeah, they need it pretty bad. Lost to City, lost to Arsenal, had to come back to draw United so far this season. Those have been the 3 biggest games. They got a 1-goal win over Newcastle, which is, nothing to scoff at this point of the season. But they do need something that says, all right, we're not just the best of the rest of the teams in the league behind these top 3. If they can go out there, and the result matters, certainly, because the points matter. But if they can put in a performance where there is a bit of dominance, control, any sort of like dictating the game to Arsenal, I think will be the biggest telling sign to me, because so far we've kind of just seen them walk out onto the field and say, we've got more talent. We've got an idea of playing. We think we can do it against you. And that works against a lot of 17, 18 teams maybe in the Premier League. But there's a couple there at the very, very top that you have to be able to adjust a little bit. You have to play their game at times. And Arsenal will have periods of this game where Chelsea are going to have to go into kind of a rest defense situation, which to both of your points has not exactly been great for them so far this season. And so there's still a lot to work with. But it's impossible to look at what they're doing at the moment and say it's not going in the right direction. And so for the weekend, just the difference in kind of mindsets and mentalities that I think that these 2 teams have at the moment, the confidence and maybe lack of confidence on the 2 sides. I don't think it's not going to be important on the weekend. I'll just say that.
Nick, I mean, Chelsea is solid, right? In terms of in midfield, Lavia and Caicedo, they've found balance there, which gives their defense a bit more cover, but more so allows them to press higher, win the ball back higher, those two midfielders. And then you've got Madueke, Palmer, Jackson. I mean, a whole host of other attacking players who, even if Palmer is not fit, you can just bring in Neto, put him in centrally, could play João Felix, could play Nkuku just off Jackson. So they have a lot of options, but Palmer is the X factor. We talked about that. And how can he can hurt Arsenal, right? I mean, in terms of if he does start in front of Arsenal's back four without Odegaard recently, with Rice struggling with injury, we're not sure he's going to play in this game. That's key, right? If Palmer is fit to go, it feels like he can really get at this. I wouldn't say struggling Arsenal defense, because I don't think that has been the main problem for them, but they've shown cracks, haven't they? And if there's one player here that's really going to come up and deliver this marquee win for Chelsea, it's going to be Palmer if he's fit.
Look, he's a visionary, and we don't say that about. I don't say that about a lot of people. He sees the game better than most, and that I think has been key to beating Arsenal. It's either that quick pass that somebody else sees, or that angle that somebody else sees, or the shot that nobody else would even think to take, or where to place it, and he's got that right. We see that out of Odegaard. We see that out of De Bruyne. We see that out of some of Mo Salah. Palmer is there. I think we just have to say he's there. The sample size is not too small. He never seems bothered. We talk about those players who are, I think I said it earlier in the show, too young or too dumb to realize that they shouldn't be doing what they're doing. And he's one of them. And he works while he's drifting, if that makes sense. He seems to pick up the ball in places where people don't expect him to pick up the ball, and he'll drive for 50 yards. It's like he's found this, God, I hate using this word because he's not there. He's nowhere near there. There's only one Messi, but he does Messi-like things when he drives the ball. His head's up, his vision's up, and he allows Neto and Madueke so much more room than they would be getting if he wasn't on the field.
Yeah, it's true. And I think for Arsenal, it's all about just shutting down that space that he can operate in. Whoever's starting there, maybe you start a Jorginho if Rice is not fit, to kind of just clog things up a bit more alongside Partey and not have Moreno in there. I'm not sure. I'm just trying to think of if Rice is out, which would be huge, and he missed that defeat against Inter Milan in midweek, then I think you have to change your style if you're Arsenal, just to purely combat A, Palmer, but B, how lethal Chelsea are on the counter-attack as well. And, that's where they have found some joy against Arsenal in recent seasons. But Arsenal losing 3 of the last 6 games is a serious slump. We talked about it on the show this week. Odegaard's probably only fit for 30 minutes max in this one, but it's still a bonus to have him back. If Rice is out, like I said, they have options, but you hope that Arteta makes the right choice, which I'm not sure we can say he has done in recent weeks when they have had key players out injured. And the attacking issues, Andy, I mean, that's not something that can just be solved overnight, is it? Because that's been a reoccurring theme throughout this season. If I'm honest, they just absolutely knackered a lot of these guys. Martinelli, Trossard, Havertz, Saka, some of them working through injuries, lack of form, playing out of position a bit. So what is the key for Arsenal this weekend if they're going to get back on track in a big way in this London derby?
Oh man, they're gonna have to score for sure, and I think they struggle. I think they're really gonna struggle to do it, because you look at the recent results. You get clean sheeted against Bournemouth, you get clean sheeted against Newcastle, and they didn't have a ton of great chances in either of those games. It's not that they're creating a ton and just not putting them away at the moment. It's volume-wise, yes. But in terms of do the chances come within the flow of controlling and dominating the game the way that you expect a title contending team to do? And those two things are just not marrying together at the moment. And I think that's the biggest disconnect with Arsenal. The idea that people have Arsenal in their minds, fun, young, attacking team, they're incredibly negative at the moment. And they kind of have to be a little bit. They have to really pick and choose when they go forward, who goes forward. And they've done a pretty good job of that. But it just just limits their potential so much from game to game. And going on the road, facing a team with a lot of confidence, a team that has energy and legs that they simply do not, just putting all of those factors together, I don't know how I look any way other than Chelsea in this game, which of course means it's going to be an Arsenal win, and the youth of Chelsea will come back to bite them, whatever. But they are the team that's in the ascendancy right now, and so I'll go with a 2-1 win for Chelsea. But I don't think it's going to be quite the wide open, exciting game that everybody thinks it will, because Arsenal kind of can't play that right now.
I'm going to go 2-1 to Arsenal. I think that Chelsea have shown plenty of promise, but I still don't trust them at the back, and I still think they're good for 2 or 3 big mistakes a game. And I think Arsenal, even though their players at the top end of the pitch have been out of form, I still think they are good enough to make the most. And compared to Man United recently, when they drew against Chelsea, they didn't make the most of those chances that Chelsea gave them on the plate. And I think Arsenal will get the job done. It'll be a morale-boosting win. Nick, what are you going with, mate?
I think there's a book on this Arsenal right now. And the fact that Odegaard and Rice, neither will be at 100% if they feature, is enough for me to think that there could be a draw here. I think Chelsea is going to look defensively in 2 years like Arsenal looks now. The difference is Saliba had to go on loan to capture that strength, and Gabriel had to play through a lot to capture that strength. So give me Colwill and Fofana with another year of health and playing together, and I might say Chelsea comes out of there a 1-0 win. But right now, I don't think Chelsea breaks down Arsenal more than once, and I think Arsenal will absolutely score on Chelsea. So I'll go 1-1, but don't be surprised at 2-2.
Oh, yeah. It's always surprising, this fixture, I think, of all the London derbies. It's always drama. We've seen it in the last few seasons. So hopefully we'll see plenty more of that this Sunday at Stamford Bridge. Head over to Pro Soccer Talk on NBCSports.com for how to watch information, preview, team news. We've got predicted lineups, and we'll have live in-game analysis as well. I'll be lucky enough to be at the Bridge this weekend for a massive game. Chelsea against Arsenal, level on points. Didn't expect that at the start of the season. So let's see if Chelsea can take a big step forward, or if Arsenal can show signs of recovery and that they're back in the title race. Thanks so much for joining me, Nick and Andy. Thanks everyone for watching, and we'll speak to you all very soon. Cheers, guys.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host of NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch more videos all season long. And if you want even more Premier League content, from original series to live matches, head over to Peacock.